Hey you guys, it is me, Laura, and I am here to do a review of Story of the World for you. I have had Mystery of History for a while and I really like it, but I have also been very curious about Story of the World because it seems that those two tend to be very popular choices for people in the homeschool community, and I wanted to know what the differences were, what they were like, and the timing that I got these has actually been really perfect. Timberdoodle sent them to me at a discount in exchange for a review, which I am doing now, and I am so glad because it got here when I started getting really sick in my pregnancy, and we had run out of our history program that I had been creating, and I was so sick I just didn't have the wherewithal to continue to create, to continue on in our US history unit. So we got this in the mail, and as soon as we got it, Samuel, my 7-year-old, was ultra excited, and he asked if we could start reading it right away. So we kept it in my bedroom, and every night before he went to bed, we would read some of it. We're not done, we're still working through it in his regular homeschool time, but it has been perfect. We would just read through this, look at a couple things in the activity guide, and that was it. I didn't have to plan, didn't have to do anything. It was good bonding time for us, and just really kept us going with history. So I will show you a little bit about it and let you know what I think of all the details. So here we go. So Timberdoodle has it set up where they use the Story of the World in their 1st grade curriculum, 2nd grade, 3rd grade, and 4th grade curriculum. They just start with the volume 1, which is Ancient Times, and then they go through the 4 volumes. And then once they finish going through the cycle of the Story of the World, they switch over to Mystery of History. I believe that is how it's set up. So they use the Mystery of History for the older kids, Story of the World for the younger kids, and I think it actually makes a lot of sense. The only thing I'm not crazy about with it is that typically I don't like starting Ancient Times with such young kids. I feel like starting with US history or wherever you live is a little bit better because it's something that's more tangible for the little kids. But in the grand scheme of things, it probably doesn't really make a big difference. But that being said, this is volume 1. It's Ancient Times, so it covers the earliest nomads to the last Roman Empire. This book you can get on audio. It's available on audio, and it's also available in print, so whichever one works best for you. And it is just a book that you read. It's meant to be read aloud. That's how this is created. It's a book that you have and you read aloud together. And it has, I think, 42 chapters. Some of the chapters have more than one part, like this one has 3 parts. Some of the chapters are just one big part. But if you're doing a 36-week schedule, if you do 1 to 2 chapters a week, you should be able to get through this in a full year. So if you can see, it is laid out just like a regular book that you read. It's got lots of pictures and images. It does not have any discussion questions or anything at the end. It is just the story, basically. And some of it is written a little bit more factual, but there are also lots of stories weaved throughout to help you understand the time period a little bit better. For example, when you're talking about Egypt, they retell the story of Joseph. There's also the story of, when they're talking about the nomads, they have a story of a brother and a sister, and going through their days to help you understand and give you a little more context of what life was like. That being said, I wouldn't say that this does include biblical history, but I wouldn't say that it's an inherently Christian book. It includes that as, it doesn't talk about faith or anything like that. It's just very factual in the way that it presents biblical things, just like it is with all of the other gods, beliefs, and religions that it talks about in here, which kind of is nice because it can lend itself to, you know, wherever you are in the background. It's based on the classical conversation cycle, so if you're in classical conversations, this will very much go with it. My son loves this book. He begs me to read it. We usually discuss it naturally while we're reading it. I don't have to think much about it. He has questions, we talk about them. And then this comes with, and honestly, if you're in the early years and you just want an overview of history, history is not a subject you want to spend a whole lot of time on, this could be a great way. Just read a chapter or two a week together, and you're giving your child a basic foundation in history, and this would be all that you need. However, if you want to dig a little bit deeper, if you want to do a little bit more, if you want to do some projects and things, the activity book is perfect for you. So let's look at one chapter. We're just going to give you an idea of what this is like. It always has these books here at the top. These are encyclopedia cross-references. It's got the Usborne Book of World History, the Usborne Internet-Linked Encyclopedia, Kingfisher Illustrated History of the World, and Kingfisher History Encyclopedia. And it references, I believe, those same books, yeah, every single time. And there's not always something from each book, but if there is something, it tells you where to find it so you can go for more information. It also has review questions. A lot of times when we're done reading, I'll just pull this book out and go over some of these questions with Samuel, and it makes it nice and easy. They're good questions. I don't have to think about it, and it just helps us kind of process things. And then every chapter has a narration exercise. So this one says, ask the child to tell the history lesson back to you in 2 or 4 sentences. The narration should include information that Assyria was a cruel empire and that it was eventually conquered by the Babylonians. It isn't necessary to remember the name of Adad. Shamishi Adad, I can barely even say it. Acceptable narrations might be, the king of Assyria was a dictator. He made people obey him. Assyria became part of Babylon. Or, Shamishi Adad wanted to be king of the whole world. He conquered cities and was very cruel. Then Hammurabi took his kingdom. So just gives you very basic ideas of what to do for narration. And then it's got more review questions. So in this case, there are 2 parts to the chapter. And so it's got review questions for each part. So that way, if you're breaking up the chapter and just doing one part at a time, you've still got your review questions. You don't have to think about, oh wait, we haven't read that yet. It's all taken for you. And then there's another narration of the story of Gilgamesh here, and helps you know what to expect for that and kind of what to look for. And then it's got additional reading. So if you are someone who likes to use a lot of literature in your homeschool, you can look ahead and get these books from the library, order them, whatever your situation is. I know some people don't have access to a library, or a good one anyway, but it tells you, it's not just the name of the book, but it tells you a little bit about the book as well. So with each book, it tells you how they're recommended that you read. So the RA is a read aloud, so that's intended to be a read aloud that you read together. And then if it has IR, that's independent reading age. So here are grades, so independent reading grades 4 to 6. So that just kind of gives you an idea of what to expect from the books. So, and in the front there is a guide of how to use this book, and they recommend that you don't rush through these. Like if you find a section that you're really interested in, take time to read these books. Don't rush, don't try to get through things really fast, just really enjoy them. And then it has corresponding literature. So these are your history readers that are going to just talk about history, and then this is literature that takes place in that time. And so here you have Gilgamesh the King, The Revenge of Ishtar, and The Last Quest of Gilgamesh. And again, it's got these are all intended to be read aloud. So you can do history reading, you can do literature, you can mix however you need to make your homeschool fit your needs. Every chapter also has map work to do. And in the back of the book with the student pages, there's a map that goes with each chapter. And so this will tell you what they need to do on the map, what they need to find on the map, and where it is. So student page 26 is this map. So you go to student page 26, and there's your map that goes with that story. So you can make copies of this. I believe this is available on CD as well, so you could print it out if you got that particular format. And then in the back, or somewhere here, I think it's up here, there are, yeah, it's just before the student pages, there's an answer key for the maps so that you can check and see quickly if your student got them right. And then there are activity pages. Most chapters have a coloring page to go with them. And some chapters have something else. So if you go back here, page 27, you have a picture of Gilgamesh. And so you can use this to let your kids color while you're reading if that's helpful, or they can color afterwards. When I pulled this book out, I just showed them to my son and I let him choose if he wants to color it or not. But you can do that however you want. And then some of the chapters have, let's see if I can find one. Yeah, some of them will have puzzles or games or other little activities to do as well, but mostly, yeah, see here's another one. Mostly it's coloring pages that they can do, but there are some options back here as well. And then the next page, for those of you who like to do project-based learning, there are projects. Some of them are more hands-on than others. This one you're drawing a picture of Enkidu and it tells you about it. Here you're gonna write your own fairy tale and it gives the information. Let me see if I can find, yeah, see here's one. There's lots of projects here. You can make a paper bead necklace. This is for the chapter about ancient Africa. So you can make a bead necklace. It gives you the instructions and everything that you need to do that. This is a craft project for the Anasazi the spider. Painted hands. You can eat an African feast, and it's got all sorts of things you can cook here. Papaya stir-fried rice, chicken with figs, fried plantains, date and banana bars, date chewies. And then here we have an African concert, and so it's got all kinds of instruments that you can make. And so there's a ton of different activities. So each one will have different kinds of projects, different levels of difficulty, but you know, just a lot of different ideas of things that you can do. And then if you go back into the back of the book, you have the student pages. And then after the student pages, Story of the World review cards. So if you want to really memorize some of the stuff that you are doing, each chapter has a card with a brief explanation. So since we've been looking at chapter 8 already, we will go to chapter 8, the Assyrians. It says, the Assyrians, a powerful kingdom from the north, took over much of Mesopotamia. Both the Babylonians and the Assyrians told stories about a great mythical king named Gilgamesh. He was half god and half man, able to lift huge stones with one hand and leap over high walls. So this is kind of what the child is expected to learn and remember from the chapter. So you can make these into, like, you can print them on cardstock and make them into thicker cards and add them into like a card file box or onto a ring and look over them at different times. You can also use these to teach study skills. What you can do is you can actually, before you start a chapter, read over the card and have your child ask more questions about what's going to happen, like who was Gilgamesh, how did the kingdom from the north take over Mesopotamia, you know, what are some questions that they might have that they can look for while they are reading, and that can really help a whole lot. So these cards are just kind of review cards. And here in the front, in the how to use this book, it suggests that you, every 4 chapters, you take 1 class period to work on your cards. And so they want you to photocopy them and cut them out, and the student color the picture. And then once they're completed, you use them once or twice a week to talk about review material you've already covered. That's how they recommend that you use the review cards, but you can really use them however you want. And they do have tests available, written tests, but they're in a separate book. So that is my review of the Story of the World. I really like that it's so easy to grab and go if you need to. I think it's a great overview, and I like how it gives you so much information, so you can really do history however you like to do history class. It's all laid out for you. You can use literature. You could do a little, you know, more of a literature-based history. You could do more of a just overview, quick read-through overview. Basically, no matter what your educational style is, this could very easily fit and be adapted to it, which I think is great. And I just like that it's pretty readable. There are some parts that are a little boring, but I wouldn't say that it's overall dry like most history books. I would say that in general it's much more interesting. And like I said, my son really likes it, and it seems like it would be very easy to incorporate multiple ages and stages into history together, which is another big plus of this program. You could definitely make it more challenging for older kids, make it easier for younger kids, and I just think that it's a great program. You can't really go wrong with it. Samuel, what do you think of this? Do you like this?
I love it.
Come tell me. Do you like it?
Yeah, I love it.
Why do you like it?
Because it has really cool stories.
And what's one of your favorite stories we've read about so far?
I don't know. I just like them all.
You like them all?
Yeah.
Do you like the coloring pages too?
Yeah.
Yeah? So it's nice because it can be a really quick grab and go program, or you can definitely use it to make unit studies or extend it however you feel like you want to do. And the flexibility of it is really, really nice. I do like the way that Timberdoodle has it set up. I think having this in my hands, it makes a lot more sense to use this for the younger grades and use Mystery of History for the older grades. The only thing that I'm not crazy about, which is the same in either series, is that I feel like for first grade, kindergarten, first, second grade, early history, I prefer to do more local history. So whether it be history of your country, in my case the US, or history of your state, or things like that, I feel like that's a little bit more tangible and easy for children in that age to understand. But at the same time, some people really like doing the ancient history with young kids because there's a lot of legends and tales and things like that that they like to do with young children. So it's really totally your choice. And you probably could start with US history, but my understanding is that with both of these, as they move, this focus is really bad. Let's see. There we go. My understanding is that with both of these, as they move along throughout the series, the content gets heavier and more difficult. So probably starting in US history, which tends to be at the end, the last book I think in both of them, is probably a little bit much. But on the whole, I would say that this is a great program. It makes it super easy, super flexible, and we have really, really enjoyed it. So that is my review of The Story of the World, the main book, as well as the activity book. Let me know if you have any questions in the comments below, and I will talk to you later. And I just wanted to say thank you, Timberdoodle, for giving me a chance to try these out with my kids and review them here. I'll talk to you later. Bye.